like the actual truth of being a product manager. Hi, superstars! Happy New Year! We wish you a Merry Christmas. That's all of that is over. Now we have entered the seriousness of 2025. I hope your year has been good. I hope you did not spend all the money that you're supposed to spend in the 50 weeks in January in during 30 December 2024. Anyways, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, welcome to the family. For my OGs, welcome back. Now is a good time for you to like, if you haven't, for you to subscribe to my channel, and for you to share this video with your friends who want to be product managers, and turn on push notifications so that you don't miss out any good thing that I put out. Today, I'll be talking about everything product management, and this video stemmed from somebody asking me what is needed to be done to become a product manager, who a product manager is, and all of that. And I figured that I don't have a holistic video that speaks to like everything product management, from who a product manager is, what a day-to-day in the life of a product manager would look like, and just stuff like that. So that's why I'm making this video. So if you know anybody that wants to become a product manager, or anybody that is trying to transition, or anybody that is just looking to learn more about the tech space, share this video with them, because they are going to learn a thing or two from this video. This video is not going to be a standing video. I just wanted to try something different to just see how my vibes will be if I stand and make the video. But I would transfer to my chair so that we can have a tete-a-tete about product management, and so that I can share all of the knowledge that I have with you guys today. So let's get into the video. Let's start by talking about product management and what it entails. So now think about this. You have an app that you love. Say for example, I use Spotify to listen to music when I'm going on my 10K walk. Sometimes I use Apple Music, or I want to send a message to somebody and I send it via WhatsApp or via iMessage. Now that product that you love, that you're crazy about, there was somebody that had sleepless nights about that product. There was somebody that made sure that that product launched as that's when the product was launched. There was somebody that made sure that you are able to send a text to somebody when you want to. There was somebody that made sure that you were able to shuffle through the music that you're picking from. Now, the whole idea of putting that together is product management. Product management is basically guiding a product or a feature or whatever you want to build. It's just basically guiding that development process from the start to finish. So from the time when you are gathering information as to the kind of product that you want to build or feature that you want to build, the time when you are talking to customers, where you are doing interviews, where you are having customer surveys and all of that process, and the time when you are dealing with engineers, talking to engineers, trying to launch the products, all of that put together is the idea of product management. It's just basically making sure that decisions are taken at the right time, what to build, when to build it, at what point you are going to be launching the product. So everything that involves making sure that that product delivers value to either the users who are going to be using it, the business, or the stakeholders, depending on who the end users are, is product management. So if you did not get anything from what I defined product management as, just think about it as the app that I love using. The idea of bringing that app to life is product management. You get me? So let's go on to who a product manager is. So a product manager is the person that manages all of the product management process from the idea stage, which is when you are still doing like your research, when you are still investigating whether you want to build a product or not, to the launch stage, and even post launch. When I say post launch, I mean after the product has gone live or after the feature has gone live, the product manager will still have to go and review data from that product. So whoever is handling this process end to end is a product manager. So a product manager is like the middleman between the customers and the business, plus engineering, plus all other stakeholders that you'll be working with. So the product manager is the middleman between bringing the customer's needs to life and making sure that those customer needs matches the business goals. So you're the product manager, or you that wants to be a product manager, you're going to be in between the customers. You're going to be like an advocate for the customers. You're going to be managing engineers. You're going to also have to be dealing with stakeholders. That's different people that you're going to be working with. It could be like the support team, it could be the marketing team, it could be the design team, legal, depending on the kind of company that you work at. You will either be working with like a large number of different teams, or you'll be working with a smaller number. Ideally, if you're in a startup that is still small, that hasn't really gone far, you'll probably just be working with engineers and supports or operations. But if you're working in a bigger company, you'll probably be working with engineers, designers, data analysts and data scientists, customer support, marketing, growth, sales. Just think about it that you can work with like a large number of teams, or you can work with a smaller number of teams, basically. So the main thing that you just be doing, even if you didn't get anything from this, is you're going to be helping the business solve their customers' problems. As a PM, you would need to understand your users' pain points. What that means, that the problem that is really disturbing them, you need to understand it so that you can build a product that sorts out that problem. You need to also know your end goal of the products that you're building. That's like the vision of the product. What's this product aiming to do? What's the feature that you want to build? What's the end goal? You need to have that at the back of your mind, because you're going to be guiding your stakeholders, you're going to be guiding your engineering team, your design team, you're going to be guiding everybody that is going to make sure that that product comes to life. You're going to be guiding them to the promised land. Do you understand? So you have to put all of this at the back of your mind. And even after you have launched the product, you still have to go back and look at how the product is doing. That's one of the main differences between you and a project manager. A project manager would just build a project and hand it over to whoever needs to work with it. There's no reiteration. You're not going back to look at it. But a product manager will keep going back to look at the product that has been built, understanding if there are problems, if the user problems have changed, understanding how the users are using the product that you have built, and then moving on to make that product better, either by removing certain features, by adding more features, or as the business has chosen to handle that situation. So in essence, as a product manager, you have to make sure that the product is built in the right way, and the product is built to solve the right problem, so that you're not just wasting your time and every other person's time. There are different types of PMs, from generalists to technical PMs to growth PMs to platform PMs, and depending on the company that you work with, you might be needed to either be a generalist or be more specialized. So I'm going to speak to those different types of PMs now. So for generalist PMs, as beginners, and for most product managers, most of us are generalists. So you can ideally work in any company, mostly like you can work in a startup, or you can work in a company that doesn't necessarily need you to be more technical. You would basically have a broad knowledge of the different aspects of products management, from the technical point to the data points to the growth points. You'll basically be handling everything, and that's why you are called a generalist. And most beginner PMs and most PMs, depending on your company, you would be handling generalist roles. While for technical PMs, you basically be more technical, more hands-on with engineers. You'll be building things like databases, you'll be building things that other engineers will be using, building like engineering tools. For you to be a technical PM, you need to understand the technicalities a lot more. That's why you would see most technical PMs are PMs that used to work in like very tech heavy roles, like maybe they were engineers before, or they were working in like a data role before. So people like that are, you would see them mostly in more technical roles. This is not to say that generalists cannot be technical PMs, because we definitely can. I have worked as a technical PM before, where I was handling a lot of technical stuff. I was working on Visual Studio, I was doing things on Postman. I almost learned how to do tests on Postman. If not that, my engineer was turning me left, right, center. Or was it me that was turning myself? I was looking at API documentation a lot more than I would have as a generalist. So the idea for you to be more technical as a PM is just to take a deep dive into what the technology is. You need to know more than what a generalist will know in terms of, okay, front end consumes back end. You need to know how APIs are consumed. You need to know how databases are built. You need to know the architecture of the technological aspects of your products. Basically, that would classify you as a more technical PM. For a growth PM, you basically be handling a lot more of customer acquisition, customer retention. Those will be like your top metrics. You'll be doing a lot of experimentation in terms of, oh, where can this button be for this to be better? If you notice, Instagram has a thing where they are always changing your share button. Today your share button is in one place, tomorrow is in another place. Hold their growth PM. Is their growth PM that is trying to test out stuff. As a growth PM, you basically be looking out for how many users are coming into the app. And growth PMs are usually in companies that are already more grounded. You will hardly find a growth PM in a startup, and that's why like you find more generalists in startups, because a generalist will be able to handle everything, but a growth PM will just be more focused on experimentation, more focused on building features that will lead to growth of the customer base or of the customers. Basically, a platform PM or an enterprise PM, in case you have heard that, they handle more infrastructure or tools that are used within the company. Say for example, you have internal tools that you have built in your company. Those PMs that are in charge of that, they are the ones that are called like platform PMs. Their stakeholders will be different from a generalist. Their users will be the members of their team or members of the company. So if you just think about it, most of the platforms, or like if your company has an internal tool, the PM that is in charge of that is a platform PM. And they will just basically be building things that are used by other members of the team. Maybe for example, your company builds maybe like a HR tooling system. The PM that is in charge of that is an enterprise PM. The customers will be the HR team or other members of the company that will be using that tool. So that's like what you should have at the back of your mind for you to be called a platform PM. So all of these different types of PMs, I feel like there might be other types of PMs that people would use, but the idea for all of these type of PMs is that all of them still need to have the basic PM tools. So if you as a person have the basic PM skills, you have like normal technical skills that are required, soft skills that are required of a product manager, you can work anywhere. It's just depending on your company, depending on the kind of product that you'll be building, you'll still be using those tools. Again, you might need to know more about a particular part of the product more than the other, but it doesn't actually restrict you to certain places. You can basically do any of the roles of a product manager, and even as a generalist, you can transition into any part of product management and you will still thrive. As a PM, you're going to be the bridge between the business side, the technical side, as well as the customer side. So on the business side, you basically be building products that improve the business revenue. You'll be building products that help with the scalability of the company. So think about the growth of the company, think about like getting more investors in the door. You need to be thinking about that when you're trying to build a product or a feature. On the technical side, you're basically going to be guiding the technical team on building that product that you have already gotten go ahead from the business side. So day-to-day activities would involve you guiding the engineering team, the design team, data team, depending on whatever team that you're working with. You'll basically be communicating what needs to be built and when it needs to be built with the technical team. That's what you owe the technical aspect. Now, on the customer side, you need to be an advocate for the customer. You need to be always thinking about the customer's pain points, always tying those customer pain points to the business goals, always linking both the business side, the technical side, and the customer side. There are some times that maybe a feature that wants to be built is not going to help your customer. You have to find a way to advocate for your customer. You are the face of the customer. For when the customer is not there, you are the one that fights for their rights. Think about yourself as an advocate. So that's the link that you need to be between the business side, the technical side, and the customer side, and you need to make sure that all the parts, all the moving parts, the business side, the technical side, the customer side, you need to make sure that all of those moving parts come together, work seamlessly, and that every aspect is getting value for everything that is being built. Sometimes the business side might be the one that will be getting a lot more value than the customer side, but at every point in your product management journey, at every point that you are building a feature, you have to find a balance between all of these parts so that one side is not suffering and the other side is enjoying every time. Now let's talk about frameworks that you would hear about in product management, and one of it is Agile. Agile is a flexible process of product development in such a way that teams will work in short cycles to be able to build products and give value. Agile is very big on cross-functional collaboration, on communication, and adaptability. You have to think on your feet, you have to adapt as fast as possible because things will change really fast. While Scrum is also a product management framework where teams work within a given time to push out completed work and everybody has a role that they are playing. So think about the things like your daily stand-up and your 2 weeks, 4 weeks sprint. All of that are like ceremonies that are done within Scrum under Agile. There's also the Kanban methodology, and Kanban is more flexible than Scrum. If you're using Kanban process, you can literally just keep building without a time frame. And this usually comes to play when you have something that you want to push out and you already have like an end goal in mind, but there's no definitive time frame. Like you don't know if you're going to be able to use 2 weeks or 4 weeks to do it, and you're also on a time crunch. So putting things in boxes of time might not really be favorable to you. Prioritization models are also one of the important things that product managers, especially beginner product managers, need to know. But if anybody asks me, which is one of the questions that they will always ask in interviews, or they will mostly ask in interviews, if anybody asks me how I prioritize or what process I would tell somebody if they want to prioritize, I'll basically tell them to work with the impacts that the products will have on the impact that the products will have, the value that the products will bring, the efforts that are required to build that product, and also the available resources for building the product. If you put all of these things at your forefront when you are trying to build a product, you'll be able to make an informed decision as to what product to build and at what time. There are other types of prioritization frameworks like RISE, like Kano, and effort versus value, and Moscow or so. But all in all, the best way to actually prioritize product building and product development and what features should go live first before the other is basically thinking about all of the things I mentioned earlier, thinking about the impact that it has on your business and on your customers, your user base, thinking about the effort that is required, thinking about the resources that you have available. All of this put together will help you make a more informed decision in terms of prioritization. So the skills that are required of every product manager might be the same across board, but might also be determined by the company that you are working for at the stage at which the company is in. So as a product manager, you'll be required to build roadmap. So you need to know how to build your roadmap. You will need to know how to be more technical in terms of understanding how front end and back end interacts, in terms of understanding what happens at different points. So say for example, before a product is built, there's the wireframe there's a wireframe flow. There's a part where there needs to be documentation. There's a part where designers need to pick it up and design the screens. There's a part where front end needs to build the screens and integrate it with back end. There's a part where back end needs to like create the endpoint. So you need to understand those moving parts, know when what comes in, and make sure that they are coming in at the right time. You also need to know the different tools that are used in product management, like Jira, Notion. Some companies might use Trello, some companies might use Google Suite. So you also need to know all of these tools. You also need to have soft skills like communication. Your communication needs to be top notch. You need to be able to explain your business goals to your technical team or to your engineering team so that they are able to build the products that you need them to build. You need to also know how to tell a story and carry people along when you are explaining a product that you want to build. You need to know how to document. Because documentation is what your team would use to build the products that you have intended them to build. You also need to be a leader, but you don't have the authority, which is crazy because you cannot sack somebody, but you have to work as a leader in terms of you are carrying people along. You are going to make sure that you get like their buy-in. You are going to plan with them. Think about yourself as a manager, but without being a full-on manager. So that is the management in the product management. You also need to be able to adapt as fast as possible and work very well with vagueness. A lot of times when you're building a product, you might not really know how it will turn out in the end. In your own head, this product is going to give you 5 million customers, but in the end, there's every possibility that that doesn't happen. You don't know how that's going to be. There's also the parts where you might already be working on a product and there's something happens and you need to dump that product that you're building and go and start another thing. That's all of the adaptability that you will need to be working with. Now, there are other skills and other tools and other hard skills, soft skills that you will need to know as a product manager. Like I said, this is dependent on the company that you're working for and the stage of product management that you're working in. One of the most important skills that you need to know is communication and collaboration. Now, you might be thinking, how can you work with engineers? How can you work with designers that you don't even understand their language? You don't understand what they're talking about most times. And because some engineers or some designers know that some product managers might not really understand their language, they tend to use big technical jargons that you don't understand, and that would put you off. And if you probably haven't like had a lot of experience under your belt, you might not know how to handle those situations. So if you find yourself in that kind of situation, what I would advise you to do is always ask questions. Let's say, for example, your engineer has come up to you and has told you that this is the reason why your products cannot go live today. Meanwhile, you guys have already been working with the launch of today. Now, and he's now telling you that it's because the API is not something is not going something somewhere. Now, he has already given you the explanation that he thinks is the best way. The next thing for you to do is ask him on that spot, what do you mean? Can you break this thing down to me like I'm 5 years old? Now, the way I approach it is that there's no stupid question. I would always ask questions. So as much as possible, you ask questions. Let them know that, oh, this is what you understand by what they have said. Is this what they mean, or can they shed more light into it? Also, don't be so forceful because, oh, you're the product manager, you want to just show yourself every time. If you're always like that, you're setting yourself up for failure. Always bring yourself down, try to understand their part, but also try to do like a consolidation of all of the information that you have gotten from them, and make sure that you're actually understanding what they're saying. Make sure that you're like following up with what they're saying. If they've told you that, oh, backend needs to consume this and you don't understand it, ask questions. The same way they'll come and ask you the why of the product is the same way you ask them the reason why their code is not working. Another angle where you'll be needing communication and collaboration is working with stakeholders. No matter what team you're working with, whether you're working with a big team or you're working with a small team, you will have to have stakeholders and you have to have communications with them. So the best way to handle situations like that is to try to be very transparent, try to carry them along with what you are building, with the timelines. If things are changing, you need to let them know, whether you are sending the communication via chat or you are getting on a call with them. Always carry them along so that they know that you also have like their best interest at heart, especially when you are building something for them. One of the things that product managers are always told is that they are mini CEOs, they have authority. But the truth is that you can manage people, but you cannot force them to do something. You're basically handling the product and also handling people. So the best way for you, aside communication and collaboration that you're already doing with them, is to make sure that you build trust with them. Make sure that you carry them along with the vision. Make sure that you're always sharing the why with them. Make sure that you're involving them in your planning phase. That's one thing that I have learned in my time as a product manager, and one thing that I have seen that has made me successful. Bringing your technical team early on in the journey, like during the planning phase, letting them know, carrying them along with what you're doing, makes it a lot easier when you are in the building phase. Now, there are different tools that you use in product management, and this is also dependent on the company that you work for. But like the general one that almost everybody uses, first off, for roadmap creation, some companies use Notion, or most companies that are able to afford it use Notion. You can also use Google Sheets to make your product roadmap, or even like Google Word or whatever. It's just for you to have a documentation to show all of the features and all of the products that you're going to be building within a particular time under a particular roadmap. In terms of communication, some companies, like I said, depending on your company, you can use Slack, you can use WhatsApp, you can use Microsoft Teams. There are different communication platforms that I use. There's even Zoho. I just found out about Zoho at my last job. There's Zoho Click, which you can also use as a communication tool for prototyping or drawing up of wireframes, just for you to have just for you to share like a pictorial evidence of what you want to build, or what you want like your designers to have. Most times designers would do the wireframing, but this is just like a sketch of what you think it would look like high level. You can use a pen and paper. Honestly, like pen and paper is like one of the easiest way. You can use Canva. I learned how to use Canva recently and use it to draw wireframes and show like a pictorial evidence of what I want to build. You can also use Figma if you are very good with Figma. So these things are what you can use for wireframing and prototyping. For analytics, there's Google Analytics, there's Mixpanel. I've used Mixpanel. I know most people use Mixpanel. There's also even going straight up to look at the data that you are actually working with. If your company has a system of putting data, like your actual data somewhere, let's say for example you want to check how many customers you've had in May or June, you might not necessarily have to use like an external tool to be able to do it. You can just use like the data that is available to you. That's also part of the data gathering systems that you can use. Now let's talk about the kind of metrics that you'll be tracking as a product manager. As a product manager, you'll be tracking things like revenue generation of your product, especially if your product is like a payments product. You'll be tracking things like cost of acquisition of customers. You'll be tracking things like customer retention. You'll be tracking metrics like monthly active users, things like transaction value, transaction volume. So depending on the kind of product manager that you are, and depending on the kind of products that you are building and the product that you have worked on, that will determine what you need to track. So during the planning of whatever product that you want to build, you need to know what you'll be tracking, what success means to that product. If you're working on a product that is going to help with like payment options and stuff like that, you already know that you basically be tracking things like transaction volume and transaction value. If you're a growth product manager, or if you're even a product manager that is just starting out in a startup, you already know that you are going to be tracking things like customer acquisition, how many customers you're getting in the door, and all of these metrics are really important for the success of your product. Now let's talk about what a day in the life of a product manager would look like. Ideally, most product managers, their day starts with stand-up. Now it does not mean that before stand-up they've not actually gone to go and check a lot of things, check like the sprint board, check the updates that they can see around, or the conversations that they can see. But let's say in an ideal situation, your day starts with like a stand-up where you are getting feedback from your team, your technical team, on how far like the project has gone, where you are asking questions in case you are not clear on something or one thing or another. After that, you might also have like side alone conversation, whether with your boss or with members of your team that probably need like a one-on-one conversation with. Maybe somebody is not doing well, or somebody is not working the way you expect them to work. You can have those conversations. There's also creating PRDs or documentation, user stories based on the features that you want to build. So even when your engineers are currently working on a feature or a product, you also need to start working on the next product, because you can see that your work never actually stops. As you're managing the work on the current products that you are trying to build, you start working on the next product that needs to be built. You've already started having conversation on that next product. You also need to look at data in an ideal day. Look at like how your product is doing. It's just like say you're a doctor, you will always have to do rounds. So think about it like that. You'll be doing rounds of your product to see how far things have gotten and how well things are. There's also the 5 million meetings that you will have to have. You might be having, after you've done like your meeting with your team, you might have planning meetings with your stakeholders. Somebody might need you in a quick huddle. You might need to have like a quick chat with somebody that will turn to a call. You might need to do like a carry. You might need to carry your boss along in terms of letting him know where things are. So all of these meetings are also part of the things that you would see in like a typical day of a product manager. So you are basically having calls, you're writing documentations, you're looking at your data, you're just working all of these circles to make sure that your product works well and is good. There are a couple of challenges that you can expect from being a product manager. You can expect having conflicts with stakeholders. You can expect dealing with last minute changes to your product. Let's say, for example, not even just to your product, let's say to your sprint board. For example, you probably are, let's say you're working with like a 2-week sprint, and then you already have like a set of features that you want to push out within this 2-week sprint, and then out of the blues there's a bug in production that you need to fix. Or say, for example, like your boss now decides that, oh, you guys are not going that route again, there's a new route that he wants you guys to try out, and meanwhile you've already started building like the old products. Especially if you're working in a startup, this is something that you would notice a lot. So that's one of the challenges that you're going to be dealing with as a product manager. You might also struggle with prioritizing, because prioritization is like one of the things that you have to do. There's always a ton of things that you need to build at specific times. So if you don't know how to prioritize well, if you don't figure out like the best ways for you to prioritize, you are going to be stuck and you will not even know what to do. So prioritization is a struggle that you would have to also go through. Also, getting all of your cross-functional teams to be aligned is also a problem. That's why if anybody should ask me the biggest problems of product managers, I would say that it is prioritization and then managing stakeholders. Those are like the two big things. Once you are able to ace those two things, you'll be able to do every other thing that a product manager needs to do. So what is the career path of a product manager? For entry level, you start out as an associate product manager or as a junior PM. That's where you start out as in an ideal situation. For mid-level roles, you have roles like your actual product manager or senior product manager. And then for leadership roles, you have things like your VP, your chief of product, team lead of product managers, director of products, depending on the company and like the names that are used in the company that you're working for and how like your product is built. Now, for each stage of this process, for each stage that you get to as a product manager, you might need to like keep upping your game, keep being better, and then in your entry level, your entry role, you are probably going to be shadowing another product manager, trying to figure out like trying to see how they build products, how they do things, stuff like that. You'll be shadowing them, and then by the time you become a product manager or a senior product manager, you are looking at data, you are doing the actual product management work, and there's every possibility that you also will have to be mentoring another product manager, carrying another product manager along. Then when you get to like team lead, when you get to CPO, when you get to like VP, director of products, all of those are leadership roles. So as part of managing other product managers, you're also going to be managing management. So for each role that you are doing, for each stage that you are, you need to, it's like you are adding to what you already know as a product manager and what you need to know as somebody that is managing a team and managing like a product simultaneously. One of the main arguments that people have these days is the difference between a product manager and a project manager. Now, a product manager determines the what and the why of the product. The way I look at it is that a product manager and a project manager can be interwoven. They are not the same thing, but they can be interwoven, because in the end, a product manager also does a project manager's work. So a product manager determines the what and the why. What is the product that wants to be built and why should this be built? If you say today now that you want to build a music streaming product, that's the what of the product. What do you want to build? You want to build a music streaming product. Why do you want to build it? So that people can listen to music at any point in time on the road, when they are exercising, when they are doing whatever they want to do, they can do that. You've already figured out the what and the why. Now, in figuring out the when and the how, the product manager will now wear the cap of project management. You start to manage the projects. Now, in bigger companies, after the product manager has figured out the what and the why, they hand it over to the product owner. But in companies that are smaller, in most companies, a product manager will both think about the what and the why, and then come and think about the how and the when. And that's why I said that they are sort of interwoven. So the project manager will be thinking about, how is this product going to be built? When will it be launched? Are we going to be on budget? So think about all of the things that you do in terms of managing the product, in terms of sprints, in terms of your daily check-ins. Those are project management stuff they are in. And that's why I said in the beginning that they are interwoven. In terms of product management versus product marketing, think about it in this way. A product manager will handle the building of the right product. You've already figured out that this is a product that you want to build, and you've built that product. While a product marketer or a product marketing manager, depending on what your company calls or depending on what the role is, you think about making sure that customers see that that product is a right fit for them. So you think about the marketing, the sales of that product, and making sure that the customers see the value in that product. Your product manager, you as a product manager, you have to work hand in hand with your product marketing managers so that you guys can come together to actually market the product, while the product marketing manager will take the front row in this aspect. So after you have launched the product, you are not going to go and sleep. You're still going to continue. You'll be working hand in hand with the product marketer to make sure that your product is in the face of customers and the users that it was intended for. Now, after all of these explanations that I have given, how can you become a product manager? There are different ways that you can choose to become a product manager. The first one is to transition within your company. I have a video up already on how you can transition within your company to any role that you want to transition to, most especially transitioning to be a product manager. So another route that you can also take is by taking an MBA. So people take an MBA and they use that to become product managers. One of the most popular methods of also transitioning is joining a boot camp, or taking a course, or starting out as an intern. So these are different ways that you can decide, that you can choose to become a product manager. But I know that the easiest way for you to do any role that you want to transition to, or to become a product manager, especially if you're already working in a company that has product managers, or if you're already working in a company that needs a product manager, is by transitioning within your company. Once you've transitioned within your company, it's easier for you to start looking for another job as a product manager elsewhere, or for you to actually continue doing the work in your current company. There are some misconceptions that people have about product managers. Things like, product managers are mini CEOs. Things like product managers make all of the decisions, they don't listen to other members of the team. I think those things are not true. I don't see myself as that, and I don't think any other PM sees themselves as somebody that is an authoritative figure, because to be honest, we don't really have the authority to pick what needs to be done. We always need to get buy-in of every other stakeholder. They need to agree that this product is fit to be built for us to be able to build it. PMs are mini CEOs. PMs make all of the decisions are not correct. Basically, a PM is going to be handling collaboration. A PM has to communicate effectively. You just be like glue between all of the different legs of product management. Make sure that things are running smoothly at any stage of your product, basically. Now, there are different things that can make your work a lot easier. AI now has made things a lot easier. Knowing how to collaborate with AI to help you with your documentation, to help you with product management as a whole, that's another discussion. But if there's anything that you're going to take out of this video, always remember that you have to keep learning. You have to make sure that you are very open to communication, make sure that you're big on stakeholder collaboration, make sure that you're always thinking about the business, about the customers, and also about the stakeholders. Putting all of that together is like a moving wheel. If you've watched this point, you're a superstar. Now is a good time for you to like, for you to subscribe to my channel, for you to share this video with anybody that you know is an aspiring product manager and needs more information on what product management is and like the actual truth of being a product manager. If you have any questions, you can put it in the comments and I'll be reading and answering them. If you need me to make specific videos on specific things, please let me know. I will be open to making them as long as they align with what I want to put out. So yeah, thank you guys for watching to this point. See you in my next video. Bye.